Welcome to the eighth episode of the Pre-Health Purple Hawk podcast, brought to you by Pre-Health Advising at Hunter College. My name is Isaiah Keynes, and I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Siam Ayon and Dr. Emanuel Mordechaev. They both were Hunter College graduates in 2019 and were both Yellow Scholars. Dr. Ayon attended the Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine and is now a first-year preliminary medicine resident at New York Presbyterian Queens Hospital and will be completing his residency in physical medicine and rehabilitation at Burke Rehabilitation Hospital, affiliated with Montefiore Hospital. Dr. Mordechaev attended New York Medical College and took a scholarly year to pursue ophthalmology research at Mount Sinai between years M3 and M4. He is also a preliminary medicine resident at Metropolitan Hospital and will be completing his ophthalmology residency at Westchester Medical Center. Welcome to the podcast, doctors.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So I'll get straight to the first question. The most popular, famous question of all time. What inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
Siam, want to go?
Happy to. So for me, I think a couple of reasons. I would say the biggest reason being intellectual curiosity. I've just always found medicine to be extremely fascinating, from disease processes to being able to treat a person as a whole. All of those things has just been super fascinating to me all my life. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons I pursued medicine. And I think also being around a group of people that are compassionate, empathetic, wants to help other people feel better, just help other people. I think that's also a really great part about being in medicine because you're just surrounded by empathetic and compassionate people. So it's really fun to work among those people.
Okay, and yeah, for me, I remember practicing this for med school interviews and like residency and like some things you say because you feel like you're supposed to say, but I'll just freestyle this. Like I feel like health is the most important. When it's someone's birthday, you wish them nothing but health, wealth, happiness, that kind of thing. So health is always there. And you don't know how important health is until you have it stripped away from you. I often think of Steve Jobs when this question comes up because, billionaire, one of the most powerful people on the planet, and then pancreatic cancer and all the money in the world can't save you. So I think health is really important. And if you have the willpower to sit and study, so that you can have a vast enough knowledge and breadth of information to help people in times of need, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And I think it's important to have a job that you find purposeful because so many people do something for a living that they don't like. Not to put accountants under the bus, but most accountants I know say they don't like their job, for instance, right? But here it's very difficult. I'm in scrubs now, you're always working. It's difficult, long hours, maybe not a lot of sleep, but at least what you're doing is purposeful and you come home feeling like you made an important difference.
Wow, amazing responses. Very inspirational. And in order to even pursue a career in medicine, it all started in undergrad. So wanted to ask, how was that journey applying to medical school? I know it's a tough journey for everyone. So do you have any tips also for current pre-medical students like myself? So I guess we can start with Siam.
Siam, do you want to just answer it first all time so we don't have to
Yeah.
Sure, I'm happy to do
if
that.
that's cool with you? Okay.
Yeah, that's cool with me. So you can always pick it off, back off of me. Right. So for me, the journey to med school, I was in Hunter all 4 years. I took the MCAT the first time around junior year, didn't do very well. Then I retook the MCAT, and I did okay that time. But I still felt like it wasn't great. So I wanted to like kind of increase my chances of getting into medical school. So I started speaking with Camille, who told me about the master's program Toro has. So my senior year, I applied to medical schools, and I thought I was going to take a gap year for 1 year, but ended up doing a master's program at Toro to kind of boost up my science GPA and increase my chances of getting into medical school. So while I was applying to medical schools and doing interviews, I was also doing the master's program at Toro. And then I did get acceptances from schools, but I also got into Toro, and I wanted to be in New York, so I ended up going with Toro and being in New York. But the journey at Hunter, I always say this to every Hunter person I meet, is to this day, going to medical school, I haven't taken a harder class than Bio 100. So if you can handle Dr. Ali's class, you can handle any class. It is literally, no, to me at least, I have not taken a class harder than that. So it was definitely challenging at times, but it truly prepares you. Um, like mentally for what's to come in med school. You're getting a lot of high volume information thrown at you in medical school. But if you can get through Hunter, I feel like you can handle it. And for any advice for pre-med students, I know there's a type of mentality of a checklist that you need to fill up, like a 15 experiences or whatever, but please try to make sure they're somewhat meaningful to you because in your interviews, you will 100% be asked about those questions. Like if you put like, you did, volunteering at a shelter or something like that, they will ask you like, why is that meaningful to you? What did you get out of it? So if you just kind of did it as a checklist just to, fill up those 15 experiences, they will know they interview thousands of candidates every year. So it's kind of important to make sure that yes, you want to have a certain amount of experiences, but you also want to make them somewhat meaningful to you, so you can talk about it in your interviews because that truly does make a difference. Because I feel like once you're in that interview, your scores or MCAT, all of that is already kind of been checked. That's why you're there in the interview. So at that point, it's more like who you are as a person. And the best way to know that is by the experiences you have shared in your resume with them. So they will ask you very detailed questions about them. So please be prepared to talk about that and try to make them as meaningful as you can.
So yeah, first off, shout out to Camille Jackson because C mentioned I wanted to mention her too. They're your best friends in terms of applying to medical school and becoming a strong candidate because they have so many years of experience. Camille, Nina, who was helping with personal statements, and if I'm missing anyone else, sorry, but it's been maybe 5 years or so. I forgot some people maybe, but I took the MCAT junior year of college and then applied to med school straight through, started straight through. Um, some advice would be to med school applications are tough because they expect you to do everything. They expect you to have good grades, good MCAT, research, maybe a little, also volunteering experiences. So some advice: don't run away home as soon as school is over because there's so many clubs that are offering opportunities. For example, for volunteering, I was volunteering with the Red Cross. I volunteered with this shelter. The name is I can't remember the name right now, but there are a lot of opportunities to get involved in on campus. Like what was it, PHL, pre-health organization, right? Then there's MAPS, Minority Association of Pre-Medical Students. I was secretary of that. So if you can be part of one of those two, because those are the like pre-health or pre-med clubs on campus, that could show that you're very interested. And as far as the three most valuable experiences, you're gonna have to write that in your application. So, like CM said, make sure it's something that you're actually interested in. For me, it was Red Cross. We would install smoke alarms, and people die from fires, unfortunately. And if we can install an alarm and have a preventive measure like that, it's very impactful because you can save a life. Then it was volunteering in a shelter, which is obviously providing food and clothing to people who are not as fortunate as us here on this call. And then the third one I already forgot, but just make sure it's all meaningful. And last piece of advice: in PHO and MAPS, Minority Association, doctors come in to speak with students. Network with these doctors after they're done speaking. Don't just go home. Speak with them one on one. Maybe take down their number, their email, and that's how I ended up shadowing my first ever doctor. And I wrote it on my application. So just be proactive, even when it seems like it's challenging to do so.
Basic responses, yeah. And also, it's good to know that Dr. Eli's Bio 100 class is a universal experience. So, but yeah, to echo the extracurriculars, I are like a really big part of it, and you should be enjoying it, and they should be meaningful to you. Shouldn't just be a checklist. So yeah, uh, great tips. And then you guys kind of talked about it a little bit already, but just your time at Hunter overall. How was that? As a pre-med student, taking the academics, the extracurriculars, but also specifically at Hunter College. How was that specifically?
I really enjoyed it. I think Hunter to this day is four of the best years of my life. And then that's even through the struggles. Bio 100 was not a joke. It was really, really hard. A lot of the classes were really, really difficult. But I think one of the things Emmanuel said is I think you have to find meaning beyond just the classes you take. And if you're somebody, because it is a commuter school, if you're somebody who's going to just come to class, sit in a, North Building auditorium for, hour, 20 minutes and then go home every day, it's hard to find meaning in that. So it is very important, not just for a checklist or for resume builder to be part of this organization, but it's also a way to just kind of rant sometimes to your classmates or people who are going through similar experiences as you. And it helps you. It helps your like mental health. It helps you like, have a group of people you're kind of going through the thick and thins with. Like for me, that was Emmanuel and a couple of other friends. Like, after exams or after classes, I don't recall ever going straight home. We were always like either, getting food together or like sitting in the club room together, just talking, just kind of bonding over certain things and, ranting to each other. And those things are truly, they truly make a difference because you don't feel like you're by yourself. And looking back on it, like majority of the people that we kind of went through the pre-med route with are all either in medical school or just graduated from medical schools. And we may not hang out with each other all the time, but we're still in touch with them. We're still rooting for each other. And it's honestly a really beautiful experience to be able to go through this type of challenging 4 years or 5 years together at Hunter. And then here you are, like all doctors or about to become doctors or in other great fields. So it's really important to like kind of build that network for yourself. And I know it's a commuter school, so it's easy to like kind of not do that. I get that, but it will help you, not just your resume, but also like I think your mental health, to just have those people around you and kind of build a network for yourself.
So, oh, if there's kids saying something in the background, there's a pool next door and they're having a lot of fun. So sorry, there's background noise. But Hunter College, it's very pre-med heavy, just like Baruch is what is it, pre-business or something like. So Hunter is very pre-med oriented, right? So we have Macaulay's in pre-med, Yalo's in pre-med. The benefits of being in Yalo, it's like it's very tight knit. So when I was a Yalo, I think we had maybe 40 or so. I think the number has since increased, but it's obviously stressful. You take your first bio exam in Dr. Lai's class and you wonder if you made a mistake, like going into it. And then you speak with other Yalo students, you realize you're not the only one who's struggling. You stick through it. Next thing you know, you're in med school. Next thing you know, you're in residency on this call. Obviously, it's quicker than that. It takes longer than that, but it's cool to see. A lot of our Yalo friends like just started residency. Some are in pediatrics, some are in internal medicine, PM&R for Siam, ophthalmology for me. So it's cool because you go through the trenches together. I remember someone took a snapshot of me walking into a lies test, and then the caption was walking into a war zone or something. We would crack jokes about that, just like find humor in the stress. And even if it takes you longer than the traditional 4 years of college, like look at Siam, he took one more year, but now he's in residency just like me. So it's not really. It's cliche to say it's a marathon, not a race, but that's true. Everyone has their own timeline. In my medical school, someone started medical school at age 40 because he was in Wall Street and he didn't find his work interesting or he wasn't passionate about it. So, if you want to do it, you'll eventually find a way to do it.
Wow. Wow, amazing responses. And I guess you kind of went on to my next question a little bit, specifically Yellow Honors, the Yellow Honors program. I have a lot of friends personally well, most of my best friends are in the Yellows program. So amazing people, very talented people, very intelligent people. So just curiously, how did the Yellow Honors program specifically support you on your medical journey?
The most obvious answer is the person you see on the call with me today, like Emmanuel and people like Daniel and them. They were part of the Yellow program, and they were the biggest support system all through the 4 years. They're still some of my best friends to this day. So that's the easy answer. And then beyond them, which I can talk about for ages, is also like the advisors. Dr. Klein, she was incredible, always been super duper helpful. But also for me, just beyond Dr. Klein and the friends is also the mentorship program. So when I was a freshman in Yalo, I was connected to a sophomore in Yalo, Lawrence. And to this day, I'm friends with the guy. I think he has like in many ways completely shaped and changed the way I think about just studying in general. I was very hyper fixated on grades when I first, became a student at Hunter, and that took a very long time to get away from. And he always told me to try to enjoy what I'm learning and find the enjoyment in learning. He was the first person who told me that step exam was fun, and I was like, what? Like, how can you even say that? Like, but he was like, it's just like a puzzle, and you're trying to figure out the puzzle. And I know that's a very hard mentality to go from going, oh, I need a 250 on this exam, to going, this is a puzzle. I'm just solving this puzzle. And I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think I will ever get there. But even just like telling myself this, I felt like I was able to go into those exams a lot calmer. And I didn't feel like in the moment that my entire life depended on it, because it kind of did in those step exams. But it's just like that mentality, and just like being able to tell yourself, like, it's okay. It's just a puzzle. I've done, thousands of these before I got here. And now I have to do like 300 more of these puzzles, in the next 8 hours. So just like little shifts like that in your mentality, where you're trying to enjoy what you're learning and stuff like that. Like I got that from upperclassmen in Yalo, and another Yalo upperclassman, Nayab, who's like a resident now at Presbyterian where I work. I saw her recently, which was an amazing reunion. But it's just like people like her, like they were kind of able to help you get through, and they were able to like take you to different spots. They're like, oh yeah, I'm leaving this research because I'm graduating. Do you want to be part of it? Or, oh yes, I'm like this organization I'm part of. Do you want to be part of it? So like little things like that really made a difference. And sometimes it's such a vast world, Hunter. Like I know it's a commuter school, but there's a lot going on in Hunter, and you're like, where do I start? But having that Yellow mentor, they're like, oh, but I'm already part of this organization. Do you want to join? It was a lot easier for us that way, and I felt very, very fortunate to be able to have that support.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit of Yalo is that it's small and more tight knit. Like Macaulay obviously is great as well, but I think they have way more students, so you can develop close relationships with everyone as you can in Yalo. For example, Siam was my best friend, and we're still good buddies, right, Siam? We're still good buddies, yeah. Like he would help me with my schedule because I was a little lazy. So like you help each other, like I don't know how to work my schedule. So see him help me with that. See him maybe had trouble on one bio exam. I tell him like, hey, do this differently. So we were there for each other. One big shout out to Dr. Klein. See him keeps reminding me people I need to give a shout out to, because otherwise I'm gonna forget. She was very helpful during the application process. So a big thank you to her. Tamara, she was an upperclassman, was my mentor, helped me with my personal statements during applying to medical school. So, everyone helps you little by little, and that all accumulates eventually. Um, and the last thing I want to say is it really does help having a mindset shift. So, for example, I'm in the hospital now and I see a lot of tuberculosis. I could think, damn, why does it have to be me? Why do I have to see these patients who are very sick? Why do I have to write these notes? Why do I have to give the labels to the nurses? Or I can think, this is really interesting. I remember learning about right therapy in medical school, and now I'm actually applying that knowledge from the basement of a library where I had no social life and I was learning, to a real life scenario where someone can actually benefit. And that mindset will help you power through your hours, and the hours sometimes even fly because you're so busy. And the same thing applies during Yalo, during college. If you actually find interest in what you're learning, it's going to be so much easier to do. I remember learning about the EpiPen, for instance, in Dr. Eli's class. I came up to her after and I'm like, you're telling me I can inject myself in the thigh and next thing I know, I'm breathing again if I have like some kind of allergic response? And she said, yeah. And that was interesting. I came home and I looked into what receptor does this act on? Because that's actually interesting. It's not like I'm not a fan of the Krebs cycle, for instance, because it's not applicable to real life. But if you can make it applicable and interesting, you'll be more motivated to study and get through the 4 years.
Yeah. Wow, amazing responses. And yeah, you guys got through the 4 years successfully since you're here. But I know both of you had different paths in terms of what happened after those 4 years, in terms of a gap year, right? I believe, Siam, you took a gap year, correct? And Emanuel, you didn't, right? So yeah, I wanted to talk about just that two different experiences because we haven't really gotten like anyone on the podcast yet who hasn't taken a gap year. So I'm really curious in seeing how that is and also how a gap year was helpful. So basically my question is, if you took a gap year, what did you do and how did it help you on your medical journey? And if you did not take a gap year, I guess towards Emmanuel, can you elaborate on the experience of going straight from undergrad to medical school?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love the questions about gap year because personally I feel like I'm not the best person to ask about gap year just because my gap year included doing a master's program. So it wasn't really a full gap year where people do more meaningful stuff, I feel. Because like I said, I was applying to med school while I was doing the master's program. So it wasn't as big of a gap year, but I can't speak on the experience of being in a master's program. I think that program changed my life in the best of ways. I honestly felt like I was not prepared to go to medical school after because I didn't know how to study. I don't think I knew how to study until I did the master's program. Master's program is when I figured out I learned what works for me, what doesn't work for me, because it was all science classes. So I had to learn how to like kind of survive in that moment.
Mm,
And I feel like that's why when I went into medical school, like I was like 10 times more prepared, like to because I knew what works for me now. Like for the first time, I feel like I figured out, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. Like for example, a lot of people love learning from textbook. I can't. I don't know what it is about me. I do not know how to learn from textbooks. So for me, auditory learning is a big one. Like I will be like literally, doing like I don't know, doing like laundry or something, and have like a headphone on, listening to like a lecture. Because for me, auditory learning is super duper helpful. So things like that, I feel like I really learned during my gap year how to able to properly study and things of that nature. And one of the things Emmanuel reminded me, which is 100% true, is he said something along the lines of like somebody he knows was 40 years old and started med school. Majority of my med school friends are in their 30s, actually. So they all had a different career prior to this. One of my closest friends was now a dad. He was working for an oncologist. Just working with a lot of cancer patients. And as he was doing that, he realized like, man, like this is cool, but I want to be able to do more for them. And that's when he came to medical school. And he's one of the smartest people I know, and he's going to be one of the best doctors, no questions asked. So it truly doesn't matter if you're 24, 25, in your 30s, 35s. Like it really doesn't matter. If this is your calling, this is your calling, and I know it's cliche, but it is your journey. So try not to compare yourself with other people. But yeah.
amazing response.
Isaiah, were you asking me the same thing as well, or?
Well, specifically for you, I wanted to ask, since you didn't take a gap year, how was the experience going straight from undergrad into medical school? Because I know they're very two different experiences. And something else that I kind of wanted to ask is, like, do you wish you would have taken a gap year or did not take a gap year? Do you think that helped you more? So yeah.
So, okay, I got into med school in January of my senior year. So essentially from February until matriculating in like July or August, I was off. I was a student, but I had like maybe three classes. I had the human bio. So we both majored in human biology, Siam and I. I had the human biology capstone with Siam and a few other classes, but it was fairly straightforward. So it was kind of a vacation. I was also dorming at Brookdale at the time. So
Mm.
that was kind of my summer experience, starting from February until matriculating. I'm happy I did not take a gap year, honestly, because the amount you need to study in med school is just insane. And I feel like if you take a gap year and you don't study in that gap year and you go straight into medical school after a year off, you're gonna have ring rust, and it's gonna be even more difficult. For me, it was extremely difficult, the transition. But like roommates and other things that you can't control, but it's just so difficult to study as much as you need to in med school. I feel like you're setting yourself up better if you don't take a gap year and you just go straight from studying in college to studying in medical school. I understand the appeal of taking a gap year. You want a social life, or dating, whatever the case may be. You want more time for yourself, which I totally understand. I took my gap year during med school, between my third year of med school and fourth, doing research in ophthalmology, because I found out fairly late I want to do ophthalmology, and it's quite competitive. So if you don't have some research to show for it, it's unlikely you're going to get in, at least into New York, matched into New York. So I think the best thing to do, I might be biased because that's what I did and I liked it, is to not take a research year, to not take a gap year in college, and then take one in med school, where, in my opinion, it's harder than college. and you could benefit even more so from a gap year. Or you could take 2 gap years. Like, you know, like Siam and I are saying, we know people in their 30s. I know someone in their 40s that started medical school. So it's really up to you. But if you had to choose one, I would choose during medical school personally.
No, this is great insight. I mean, now it's a little bit more normalized to take a gap year because of how competitive medical school's getting. They suggest that, you know, study for the MCAT during a gap year, but, you know, we rarely get a chance to see the experiences of people that didn't take a gap year. So it's really good to hear that insight and those tips from someone who didn't. So yeah, thank you. And you guys have applied to residency and gone in, so that means you guys got through medical school. So I wanted to ask, how was the experience of medical school specifically? Was it vastly different from undergrad, based on some of the responses I've already heard today? It seems like it was not easier, but like a little bit more, I guess, getting used to of an experience. So yeah, how was your medical school experience overall?
I enjoyed medical school. I really did. There were definitely difficult aspects to it. There's no questions about that. I think most med students would agree. It's not the any single material. It's the volume of the material that comes at you, right? Because like if you truly think about something like glycolysis, it's like it's hard, but it's not impossible. Like anybody can learn it if they put their mind to it. But the issue is we have to learn glycolysis in a day. Like, you know what I mean? So it's that's what makes it hard. It's the volume of information that comes at you that has you I don't think anything or anybody can prepare you for something like that. It's like I would never, if you told Siam from college, like, hey, you will need to learn glycolysis in one day, I would be like, okay, funny one. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's no way, but you learn it. And, you know, I'm here, Emanuel is here. Thousands of people have done this before us. Thousands of people are going to do it after us. So it's the volume of the information. And I think the most challenging part about medical school is somebody told us right at the beginning of our orientation, and they spoke about life as a pie chart. And I've always hold that very near and dear to my heart. Even as I go to residency, I hold that near to my heart. It's this idea that your life has these different aspects. Like, yes, you're a medical student. For me now, I'm a resident. I'm also a son. I'm also a partner. I'm also a friend. I'm also all these other things. And just because residency takes the bulk of my pie chart, it doesn't mean any of the other parts are any less important. So if you don't put any focus on those other parts and you just focus on the residency, soon you're going to start to lose parts of yourself. And that's just going to make your life significantly more difficult, significantly more hard. Because as much as I love being a resident and being able to do all these things for people who are in need, I love being a friend. I also love being a partner. I love being a son. I love going to the gym. I love watching my shows. You know what I mean? So all these things are also just as important to me. And just because residency takes the bulk of my time, I can't ignore them. And I feel like learning that balance was the hardest thing about medical school, because if you let it, that pie chart will be completely taken over by your one sole identity, which is I'm a med student or I'm a resident. Because if you let it happen, it will 100% happen. And I think learning to not let it happen was the most difficult part about medical school. But as you go through medical school and then you become better at managing those things, it's honestly pretty fun. Like, you know, you get to learn about cool stuff you finally care about for the first time in your life. You know, you don't have to learn about like E is equal to MC square anymore. Like you're actually learning about these processes, how to treat them, and it's going to actually help people one day. And you're surrounded by people who are interested in the same things as you are. They're just as passionate about medicine. The professors tend to be pretty cool. So all those things make, you know, medical school enjoyable. But again, I don't want to sugarcoat it. They're definitely challenging aspect, and not losing yourself, and just become a medical student is, I think, the hardest balance for anybody. But once you're able to like slowly balance that better, it's honestly a really good experience.
I think Siam is just like a very big optimist because I wouldn't say I liked medical school if I have to be honest. It was like very stressful. The hours were ridiculous, like studying, I mean. So I think it's important to optimize your life in medical school. So Siam was saying, you know, we wear many different hats, and some ways that I found myself optimizing and like just being more efficient is, for example, meal prep, right? I like to meal prep on Sunday, and then I don't think about what I'm eating the rest of the week. Some people, they're in class, then they come home. I need to study, but wait, I didn't eat yet. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna make lasagna 3 hours later. Okay, I'm gonna take a nap. I ate my lasagna. I'm tired. I wake up 7 p.m. I haven't started studying. My roommate was like that. But shout out to him. He's a pediatric resident, so you can get by with that kind of way also. So for instance, like I like to meal prep, so this way I save time. The time that I would be cooking every day or making food every day is time I could wear some different hats in my life. I could be a friend, going with my friends to the movies, bowling, you name it, just doing stuff besides medical school. Another thing is roommates. I had an experience where the roommates didn't like our values didn't align, and we're all friendly and professional with each other, but we just weren't maybe the best of roommates, for instance. And I think it's important, very important, to live with someone that you get along with as well. So if you if you're on campus and for some reason the values aren't aligning for whatever reason, don't struggle through it and live a year and then change your room. Just you need to be as comfortable as you possibly can be outside of the classroom. So I think that's very important as well. um Besides that, I think it may be premature to say, but studying smarter is better than studying harder, in my opinion. I never really read textbooks in medical school, and that can sound weird to people, but there's so many third-party materials. UWorld for questions. You guys will know this more once you're in med school, but Sketchy, which are these cartoon videos for microbiology, um, Boards and Beyond. God bless that cardiologist who created those videos. So studying smarter versus harder is also a huge thing you can do for your efficiency. And there's many other tips that, once you get into med school, you could ask your peers, but those are just a few that come to mind to make life somewhat easier.
Yeah, thank you for your amazing responses. It's good to see like two like views of how medical school was. I know a lot of people have different experiences of medical school. I think everyone does. For some people, they have different outlooks and different ways that they approach, studying and lifestyle. So it's good to see those two viewpoints, especially for pre-med students who don't really know what to expect. Because as pre-med students, no one really actually talks about medical school, like what you actually do in medical school. We just know like, hey, we have to apply and get in. So yeah, so that's good to hear. And then, as you were talking about, I mean, the entire journey of medicine is long and it's tough. So I mean, I wanted to ask, a more lighthearted question. And have you found time to do things that you love in college, in medical school, now as you're starting residency? If have you found things that are like non-academic, non-extracurricular, that you just enjoy doing? And if so, what are those things? And how did you manage your time in order to enjoy those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's a very important question that we should ask every person. Like, what is your life outside of your job? Because if you don't have one, I feel like job becomes a lot more draining and daunting. One of the things that I really, I guess, like realized I love was during peak lockdown is I realized I love like games at home, like Catan or something like that, like card games. So that's something I've continued doing with my med school friends because we were all like the COVID class. So we had to learn to, find ways to do things inside. So yeah, I continue to host those game nights at my place or like go to a friend's place. So that's one of the things we really love doing is just hanging out, with like some snacks and just playing our games, talking about life. But beyond that, like for me, I just love hanging out with friends and family, and I also love to travel. So whenever I could, I traveled, to different countries or different states. So yeah, like things like that. But yes, again, like I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's tough to be able to like have a full like life outside. You are going to miss some birthdays. You are going to miss some important events. Um, but I think Emmanuel said it earlier. There's a purpose behind it. You're not just missing the birthday because you I don't know, just because you want to. Like there's a purpose behind it. You're missing the birthday or you're missing the special event because there's a purpose behind what it is you're doing. You have an exam in a few days. You need to do well in that exam to be able to pursue the career of your dreams, to be able to like be there for other people in their times of need. So yeah, I think having that long-term goal, which is extremely hard to do when you're going to the thick and thins of medical school because you're just focused on this one particular exam. But having that long-term vision in the back of your mind, like, no, this has a purpose behind it, it makes it more digestible in those moments. And it kind of also, like, having a life outside of medical school helps your studying, in my humble opinion. Like, it really does. Like, if you're putting, if you're doing things outside of medicine that makes you happy, that gives you enjoyment, like when you come back to studying, your mind is a little bit more fresh and you're a little bit more ready to go rather than just feeling like, oh God, not again. Like I have to sit down and study for 8 hours again. Instead, you're a little bit more energized. I feel like that truly helps.
Great.
So yeah, Siam and I went to Spain before I started medical school, so that was cool. I like to travel. I go to Canada every winter to ski. I need my Mexico summer vacation, otherwise I'm gonna self-destruct. um, I like to play tennis. I played since I was 6, and I just like to be uh, I like to be athletic because I feel like you get those endorphins from working out, and then you just feel better after, and your problems seem less serious once you're done with the workout. You feel like you can tackle things easier. I live in Upper East Side right now because I'm at Metropolitan and the Central Park is right here. So running the reservoir. Sometimes you don't have time to live to go to the gym, but for a little run, 30-minute run, you can make time for that. And I might bite my words later, but I like residency more for now than medical school. Because with residency, I'm in the hospital. I finish my notes. I go home. I don't think about medicine. I mean, we have to take step 3, which is the last of the USMLE exams. But we just need to pass that, so it's the stakes are not too high, in my opinion. Versus medical school, you go to lecture, you come home, you're not done yet. You still need to review, you need to study, you need to do Anki, you name it. Here, I'm done with medicine when I come home for the most part, besides step 3, which will be over with quite soon. So I feel like for now, I'm enjoying residency more. I might bite my words, but there's definitely time to have hobbies. Like I'm learning guitar, for instance, now, learning the names of the strings, the chords, and everything because ophthalmology, you have to be good with your fingers. I'm trying to do activities that could somehow translate to doing eye surgery, but I don't think guitar will really do that. It's just like an outlet to relieve stress and have fun. And I also like to make rap music, as CM knows. That was a big thing in college too. I wrote about it in my statements, because that's genuinely who I am, and it worked out. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. And I think you kind of already started to answer my next question, which was, usually I ask people, are you excited for residency? Because I've been doing a lot of the podcasts before July 1st. But since July 1st has already passed, you guys are in residency. It might be too early to ask, and you already kind of answered it already, but how is residency so far? And do you guys want to elaborate more on your future goals as physicians? What is like the end goal for you guys here? Or yeah, so
Yeah, residency is it's challenging, but it's also fun. I feel like it's the first time any of us actually get to like use the stuff we learned and actually put it to work and actually see the difference. Like
yeah.
I learned about these antibiotics, like I learned their mechanism. I watched Sketchy to understand how to remember each of the proteins. And it all just sounded like this magical thing. And now I'm prescribing this antibiotic to people and in a day, they're doing better. Like, and I'm just like, whoa, these are real. Like, this is a real thing. These antibiotics work. You know what I mean? So I think that part of it is really, really fun and amazing to be able to see that in person. But with that being said, residency hours are difficult. It is, I think, universal, especially if you're going to be in a metropolitan area like New York. It is definitely going to be challenging. But every single person I've ever spoken to, no matter what state or where they're from, always says this to me. So I have no reason to doubt everybody. If you do your residency in a metropolitan area like New York, you can do anything afterwards. Like you can go anywhere, you'll be prepared for anything because some of the diseases we see here, it's unbelievable. Like it's just like people wouldn't believe you saw the disease. They were like, "There's no way." Like I just thought it was like a mythical disease. Like it's real, and we see it every day in our hospitals. Metropolitan, from what I understand, is a NYC Health and Hospital, so it's a safety net hospital. Same with Presbyterian Queens. We take everybody. Insurance, no insurance, we take everybody. So it's one of those things where you see a wide variety of diseases, a wide variety of pathologies, and you truly get to help everybody. I've never had to ask anybody, what's your insurance? Like I've never had to ask that question. I don't want to ask that question. So it's really, really nice to be able to help everybody. And a lot of them are extremely underserved. A lot of them have a lot of social determinants of health that make their daily lives a lot more difficult. So being able to be an advocate for them, being able to work with case managers to plan a safe discharge for them, even though the hours are extremely long at times, it makes you feel like, man, I'm making a difference, I'm doing something good for somebody. So that truly makes it fun. And sorry, I went on for a little too long there, but for the next question, future goals as a physician. So yes, I'm going into physical medicine and rehabilitation, which is an amazing field. It's used to be the best kept secret in medicine. It is now the worst kept secret in medicine because everybody wants to do PM&R nowadays. But the reason everybody wants to go into PM&R because it truly is an amazing field. The stuff you can do afterwards is so vast and so like variable. Like you can go into spinal cord medicine, you can go into brain medicine, like brain injury, you can go to musculoskeletal, sports medicine, pain medicine, pelvic health, regenerative medicine, you name it, and you can do that after PM&R. My goal is to actually focus on like holistic treatment. So I'm an osteopathic doctor. So I want to be able to do osteopathic medicine in the future to my patient. I also want to be able to do injections for like nerve injection, joint injections, epidural injections, stuff like that in the future as well. And I eventually also want to be acupuncture trained, so I could also do acupuncture. So it's going to be like a pretty holistic clinic where I have less invasive to more invasive procedures to help you with your pain and day-to-day living. So that's my future goal.
Amazing.
Siam, do you guys do 24 hours?
We do
24
not.
hour? Okay, yeah, same. Uh, I'm tired. It's 6 day weeks. The hours are sometimes hectic. Um, Nearly every single person in the hospital has social issues besides medical issues like migrants don't speak English, need translators, don't have insurance, need to talk to social worker, are homeless, we need to call shelters. So it's not just medicine, but it's also everything under the umbrella that you can possibly imagine as far as social issues go. So it's difficult in trying to manage things that you don't know. Like I don't know much about insurance because I'm just a new resident. I know some medicine, but the social issues I can't really, I defer to social work to take care of that stuff. With that being said, I like residency more for now, even though I'm tired with long work weeks, is because I come home and I don't have to keep studying besides step 3, but that's going to be over soon. In med school, I already said this before, but you're done with lecture, you come home and Anki is always available. You're like, do I watch a show or do I do Anki? There's always that thing looming over your head, like I need to study because if I'm not studying, I'm not doing enough. My roommate's studying, but why am I not studying? My roommate's on lecture 5, I'm on lecture 2. What's going on? There's always that comparison, especially in college. You can be cream of the crop, but then you're in medical school and the average person is extremely smart. So it's like it's an adjustment. I had to adjust to that because I was always top of my class in high school on until college, and then in med school everyone's like you, everyone's intelligent, everyone's smart, everyone has extreme willpower, everyone is disciplined because otherwise you wouldn't get there. So I like residency more for now in that regard because you can come home and focus on your hobbies. Like I said, I'm trying to learn guitar and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it actually, and especially after my first year of internal medicine and I just do ophthalmology for the next 3, I'm excited for that. As far as career goals, I want to be an ophthalmologist. I think the surgeries are extremely cool. Um, and I think it's one of the most satisfying specialties in all of medicine. I'm sure some people that will be watching this had either LASIK, PRK, one of the refractive procedures. Everyone says it's the best decision of their life. 10 minutes or less, and you never need glasses again, or not for the near future. It's incredible. People are so happy after these procedures. After cataract surgery, even on the operating table, people say, this is so good, I want to do the surgery again. When do you hear people say, I want to have a surgery again? Like no one says that except ophthalmology. So I'm excited for that. It's the surgeries seem easy because they're done so quickly in 10 minutes, but there's so much that goes into it with like suturing and under the microscope, manual dexterity. I'm excited for the challenge of it. And I'm thinking maybe cornea as a fellowship because we can do fellowship in ophthalmology because I like the immediate impact of those refractive procedures. But time will tell. I'm open-minded and I'm looking forward to the next 3 years.
Wow, thank you so much for your guys' responses. It's really great to see that you finally made a you're in the stage of your career where you know specifically what you want to do, because medicine is such a broad, field. There's so many outlets and so many journeys that you can take. So it's really great. As a pre-med student, it's kind of inspiring to see that there's people that have made it, out of the pre-med and pre-health hell of undergrad and, into medical school and into residency and soon into being an attending. So yeah, congratulations to the both of you on starting your residency. And that's all the questions I have. Um, Again, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing both of your successes, and maybe can interview you guys again when you're attending. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Thank you. We hope to see you in med school or wherever you decide to go.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck. Nice seeing you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.